Welcome to the first installment of the Adtran NetVanta UC feature presentation webinar series. The focus of this presentation is unified messaging. I'd first like to start by discussing the differences between unified messaging and integrated messaging and how this applies to the NetVanta UC products and the competitive solutions in the marketplace. A true unified messaging solution means that voice and fax messages are stored and managed directly in the email inbox. An integrated messaging solution means that voice and fax messages are copied to or synchronized with an email inbox, or that visual management of these messages is possible, but using a separate application from the email client. NetVanta UC products support true unified messaging, integrated messaging, and regular voicemail. And your users can have a mix and match of these different message stores in a single installation, often using a default configuration without any licensing implications. Now, when you look at the competitive solutions in the marketplace, a lot of them purport to offer unified messaging, but in reality, it's an integrated messaging disguised as a unified messaging solution. So why is it important to have a true UM solution? What are the benefits? Well, from an administration perspective, a single archiving strategy for all messages means lower overhead in terms of time to back up these messages as well as for restoration in the event of some kind of disaster. Additionally, providing unified messaging capabilities to clients regardless of which email program they're using, whether it's a mobile device or on their desktop, not having to install additional software means lower administration overhead over time. And this is certainly realized as a benefit with UC solutions using unified messaging. So True UM is supported with Microsoft Exchange Server and IBM Domino Server. Those clients that support those integrations include Microsoft Outlook and Lotus Notes, respectively. With these solutions, we have a client-side plugin that is installed on the desktop for the users that makes it a little bit easier for them to manage their messages within a form itself. So there's a plugin that allows for that. It's not required to have that on the desktop to get the UM experience, but it does help streamline that experience a little bit. Other message stores that are supported with NetVanta UC include any IMAP4 compliant message store like Google Gmail or Novell GroupWise. With these integrations, there is no client-side plugin like there would be for Exchange or for Domino, and as a result, there is some message waiting light synchronization functionality that is lost. But users can still have a central location for managing their voice, fax, and email, and in most cases have mobile access to these messages as a result. Messages can also be stored locally on the message store on the UC box, and that functionality still provides the ability to have basic voicemail and integrated messaging using the UC client software that can be installed on the user's desktop for visual management of those messages independent of email. And we discussed different clients, and as far as mobility is concerned, BlackBerry Enterprise and BlackBerry phones or Windows mobile smartphones or those other third-party smartphones that support ActiveSync, you get unified messaging capabilities out of the box without any additional configuration. This means no additional software installment is required, and this saves on administration overhead over time. Of course, users can use the telephone user interface to manage their voice fax messages as well as listening to their email if they have text-to-speech enabled on their system. As far as telephony integrations are concerned, NetVanta UC can support these different types of messaging capabilities with Adtran's own 7000 series IPPBXs as well as the Enterprise Communication Server. But additionally, NetVanta UC can be used with almost any manufacturer's PBX, including those from Avaya and Nortel, Cisco and Mitel, etc., allowing companies to preserve existing investments while modernizing their equipment and bringing them into the voice over IP world slowly over time. So I'm just going to switch over to the email inbox and talk a little bit about what the experience looks like from a unified messaging perspective with Microsoft Exchange and Outlook. So my email account here, you can see that there are 3 messages in my inbox. The third message in the inbox is the one that's most recognizable as a regular email. But you'll notice there's 2 other messages in here, the first being a fax message, the second being a voice message. Now, because I can manage all of my messages visually, and Becky Howard is one of my most important contacts, I can open her message first, and as opposed to a regular voicemail solution where you have to listen to those messages in the order in which that you've received them in your mailbox. So when I open up the voice form, by having the UC client software installed on my desktop, I get this special form that shows me the ability to manage this voice message right within the form itself, as opposed to having to launch a separate media player. The end result is the same as far as unified messaging is concerned, but having the software installed allows me to manage these messages more easily, giving me the ability to listen to my messages over my computer speakers or having the system call me on my handset for additional privacy listening to that audio. I can select different portions of that message. If there's a phone number I need to re-listen to, I don't have to listen to the whole message all over again. And I can also collaborate by saving this to my desktop or forwarding this to other people simply by clicking the forward button, giving me access to the global address list or my personal contacts, and giving me the ability to type in email addresses manually here in case I need to forward this to somebody outside of that context. And those that have this software will see the messages I do in my inbox, and then those who do not will see it as an email with a WAV attachment. Now that WAV attachment is a GSM encoding by default, which means the messages are pretty compressed, and that impact in your message store is quite negligible. For example, a 15-second audio message is approximately 25 kilobytes. And at the top end, most voice messages are around 30 seconds, which means an average between 25 and 50 kilobytes in size. And when you compare this to most modern attachments, it's quite negligible, seeing that most modern attachment sizes are in the order of megabytes. So 1/10 or 1/100th the size of these messages. The same kind of goes with fax messages. They are also quite small in size depending on how much content there is on the actual page or pages. In this case, a one-page fax is approximately 25 kilobytes. And you'll notice that I have the ability to manage this message in the form itself, navigating between pages, flipping pages upside down, rotating, zooming in and out, and then being able to collaborate either by saving it to my desktop as a PDF or TIFF, forwarding it to somebody else as an email with a PDF or TIFF attachment, or forwarding it to one or more fax machines using a friendly wizard interface. I can pull contacts with fax numbers in my address book or type names and numbers in manually. And this wizard gives me the option to send it now or later, choose a cover page, customize the subject and notes of that cover page, all automatically filling in the sender and recipient information on the cover page prior to sending that fax out. Now, we've all talked about so far the correspondence that comes into your corporation, into your inbox from people trying to get a hold of you. But responding to this correspondence is equally important from a productivity perspective and time savings. So the tools that we provide from an Adtran NetVanta UC perspective give you the ability to get back to people easily by using click-to-dial functionality from the desktop. And for example, Becky's obviously very interested in getting a hold of me. She sent me a voicemail. She sent me an email. She wants to talk. Instead of going over and walking to her desk, I can simply right-click her email, call with UC Companion, which is a plugin that's installed with the rest of the plugins for Outlook in the same software package, and selecting her as the sender of the email, it pulls out the sender and recipient information from the email that you selected. It will get the contacts' phone numbers automatically from your Outlook address book and from the global address list. Now, if Becky was not a contact of mine, and I wanted to call her, and by just using a phone number, I could select her phone number from her signature, for example. Let's say I just wanted to dial the 7-digit number. I simply highlight it, right-click copy, and it will bring up a toast in my window asking me if I want to call this number. Clicking this button will call that number. Now, this functionality is available anywhere on the desktop, not just in Outlook. You can use it from a web browser, Word document, anywhere there's text-based information that you can copy, and it will detect that there are phone numbers in there. As far as sending faxes is concerned, typically you're having to print out a page or a page document and then walk to a fax machine and put it in and wait for that fax to be sent for that transmission report to come back out of the fax machine. With the UC solutions in the built-in fax server, users have the ability to send faxes right from the desktop. So I have a document here. I want to send this as a fax to somebody. I simply go to the File and Print menu and select the Adtran NetVanta UC fax printer. And when I click OK, it will bring up the fax wizard that we saw when we forwarded that fax from within the email that we had in our inbox. This functionality is available for any application that supports printing, whether it's an image or a PDF or a spreadsheet. So I'm just going to switch back to this PowerPoint here and summarize some of the benefits that we've seen in terms of our unified messaging, click-to-dial, and fax server, all these productivity benefits, including being able to manage the messages in whatever order that you see fit, however you want to prioritize them as opposed to first in, first out basis. Voice and fax messages can be forwarded to other people very easily with annotations in the body of the email. You don't have to walk to the fax machine to pick up or send a fax anymore. You can do it right from your desktop, and you'll get a fax transmission report in your send items for successful faxes and in your inbox to warn you if the fax transmission failed. You can find messages very easily, whether they're voice and fax messages. Desktop search or email searches will allow you to find those messages quickly and easily, as opposed to having to go into a filing cabinet and hunt down that fax that you filed 6 months ago. Anywhere and anytime access, being able to listen to your email over the phone, these are all huge productivity benefits, having the ability to manage all those messages in a single location. From a security perspective, because the faxes are delivered right to your inbox, prying eyes in public areas won't be able to see any of that sensitive information that might be intended only for you to see. Companies can adhere to compliance requirements by automatically archiving messages, voice and fax messages on the server, or having end users archive their own fax messages and email messages and voice messages in different subfolders as long as they have them persisted to their hard drive locally. Administration. You don't need to install additional software to be able to access your messages from different clients, so you get that functionality out of the box. There's a negligible impact on the message store capacity and single backup strategy for voice, fax, and email. All time savings, saves administration time, allows your IT administrators to focus on more important things. So these benefits, of course, translate into savings, and the return on investment, depending on the types of features that you're implementing in your organization, will change, but at its foundation, there are many different savings in terms of productivity and also hard dollar costs. For example, with unified messaging, traveling and office employees both save quite a bit of time every day managing messages through a single interface, voice, fax, and email. Time savings are also realized being able to manage all of your messages over the phone, listening to your email over the phone, for example, finding out that you have a fax in your inbox waiting for you. The environmental impact using a fax server is drastically reduced because no longer are you using paper for every single transmission. The ink toner requirements have been largely reduced or eliminated. The fax machine maintenance costs, you can eliminate a lot of the fax machines that you have in your office. So their built-in fax server, there's a lot of savings on those recurring costs on a monthly basis. The same goes from being able to consolidate the infrastructure for PSTN connectivity. Typically, companies will have many analog lines connected to fax machines. These can be consolidated and sending faxes over a PRI, for example, using DID numbers to deliver them directly to a particular user's mailbox or even into a general mailbox that most users have shared access to using their email sharing capabilities. And being able to use DID numbers means that users can also have a single telephone number for both voice and fax calls, thereby being able to reduce the number of overall DID numbers you need as an organization. With all of these benefits and time savings, and the return on investment is realized quite quickly. And so the benefits of using NetVantage UC are quite obvious. This is the first presentation of many. If you'd like to see more information on NetVantage UC and unified messaging and desktop productivity tools, please visit adtran.com/UC. In the meantime, have a good day, and we'll see you next time.